Hi, welcome to this Purina podcast in collaboration with Streetvet. I'm Primrose Moss. I'm joined today by Jade Statt, Clinical Director and co-founder of Streetvet, and Libby Sheridan, Veterinary Scientific Affairs Manager at Purina Pet Care. Jade qualified as a vet in 2002 and has worked in small animal practice for over 20 years. In the wake of her own dog Oakley's cancer diagnosis, and inspired by a conversation with a man experiencing homelessness with his own dog, she co-founded Streetvet in 2016 as a platform to support and celebrate the human-animal bond. Libby worked as a vet in mixed and small animal practice for 10 years before switching her focus to pet nutrition and subsequently joining Purina Pet Care in 2018. She's remained as committed to animal welfare as ever, and she's been delighted to work with Streetvet to improve access to veterinary care and nutrition for pets whose owners are experiencing homelessness. So, hello, Libby.
Hello, nice to see you.
And hello, Jade.
Hi, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
It's lovely to have you both here. So I think we were going to start off, Jade, if you want to start off by telling us a bit about Streetvet.
Yeah, of course. We got a bit of an introduction there. Street Vet started with two vets, that be myself and my co-founder Sam Joseph, and a backpack in 2016. I'm very delighted to say has exponentially kind of grown since then, due to the wonders of the veterinary profession, really, and the backing and the support, and vets and nurses wanting to give up their time and give back. So we've now got over 500 volunteer vets and nurses outreaching in 18 locations across the UK, and essentially swapping the practice for the pavements, basically.
Oh, lovely. So I know this is a sort of a tricky topic because most of us have been lucky enough to have never experienced homelessness, but can you describe a little bit more about what day-to-day life is like for people in that situation and why the support of a pet is so important?
I think there's a lot of stereotypes associated with, if you're homeless, you shouldn't have a dog. If you can't look after yourself, why have you got another pet to look after as well? And I think that what comes along with that is quite a lot of judgment. And having been on the streets a lot, you do see the public making those calls as they go past, and asking you, because they see that you're a vet or a nurse, are you here to take the dog away, or are they not doing a good job? So I think that the biggest thing is to do with kind of breaking that stereotype, really, that majority of the people that we help with Street Vet, certainly all our engaged clients, are incredibly attached to their pet, but most of them had their pets from before they became homeless, and they are linked to, a happier time in their life. And so when you try and talk to the public and make them kind of realize that, it kind of switches the mindset a little bit. So it's not that they've got this dog to increase public sympathy or increase donations. If anything, what people need to start realizing is that by choosing to be with their dog, they're actually foregoing a lot of other things, which is not something I even contemplated, to be honest. Um, but yeah, by having their dog with them 24/7, they are creating barriers for themselves. So it's great. The dogs bring them a wealth of things, which I'm, we all know. So obviously, unconditional love, companionship, warmth, security. They're in a lot of cases, they're only mental health support. But what it precludes them doing is sometimes getting on transport, being able to go to soup kitchens. Some of them just don't allow dogs. But the biggest inhibitor is, actually getting themselves into hospital. So a lot of these our clients were so overdue looking after their own healthcare when we met them, but they just would not go into hospital. They just won't leave their dogs. So that is a massive factor. But the biggest one is hostels. So less than 10% of UK hostels accept pets. So we have a term which I've come to know and dislike intensely, called voluntarily or intentionally homeless. So basically, if our clients are offered a room in a hostel, but in order to get that room, they have to relinquish their pet, and they refuse, then they are called or labelled intentionally or voluntarily homeless, which then means that the chances of them being offered another room anytime soon, they're kind of at the bottom of the pile. So I think it's for people to start understanding that yes, having a dog is a massive commitment. We all know that, but it's an even bigger commitment, I think, if you are experiencing homelessness, because you know that you are probably giving up on your chance of getting into a hostel, which then gives you access to computer support, CV support, being able to get benefits and have an address and all of these things. So yeah, I think there's a lot of very quick assumptions made by the public when they see someone with a dog that just simply aren't true.
Yeah, that sounds really challenging to deal with, especially with the sort of attitudes that exist towards those pet owners. What sort of support are you sort of able to offer these pets and their owners then?
I mean, it started off being all about the dogs, the pets. I'm not going to lie, but within a very short period of time, it became about their owners as well. They're like a complete unit, They're very intertwined, symbiotic relationships that exist there. So, it's from the veterinary side, it's anything that can be done in a consulting room we can do in the street. So we'll vaccinate, we'll microchip, we'll give out first opinion medication, and we'll take bloods, test urine, sample lumps. We basically try and do as much as we can with the owner present, because they want to be involved with the treatment. They won't want to feel empowered. They don't enjoy, any kind of separation from their dogs and vice versa. So as much as we can with them. If they need more than we can do, then we work with a network of practices around the UK. So we will then fund the transport and fund, hospitalisation, diagnostics, surgery, that kind of stuff. But yeah, in terms of the owners and that's become very much a focus to do with the hostel scheme that we started in 2020, to try and increase the number of pet friendly hostels in the UK. We also, to be honest, sometimes the most important thing in a street vet outreach you can do is talk, sit down and just listen to people. And we have clients, I've got clients I've known for 6 years, and they come whether they need a vet or not. They're probably some of the most well-checked animals who have, some people obviously bring their animals to the vets once a year. Our guys can be seen every week, every month. They come along to get food, obviously, as well. And we give like pet essentials. So if they need a new lead or a collar or toys, that's also something they can get from us as well.
Yeah, lovely. Because nutrition, especially you mentioned that's one area that's quite easy to sort of overlook and not really think about when we're thinking about veterinary care of those patients. But it's something that's really important for pets that are living on the street, isn't it?
So it's, again, I think this is another probable place where people think that we're seeing loads of undernourished dogs. And essentially, what I would say, we're not seeing, if anything, we do body condition scores on some of our patients, they are of the higher end. And that's because, they're getting to eat anything they can. They weren't getting like a steady nutrition. Um, we had that. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I've lifted it up. So we give these to our owners to put in front of them, because it's amazing what the public think they can do. Just go up and feed, have a burger, and they're giving these dogs things that, we wouldn't advise feeding them. And the owners don't want them to be fed either. But there's that kind of level of, just doing. We also had to make some that says, please do not feed me, I'm on a prescription diet. Because again, we've obviously got pets that are on a prescription diet, from Purina, that we supply. So I think they're not underweight. They probably haven't had the best diet, because they've just not had any consistency. The owners have fed them whatever they can. The public like to feed them. So what we try and do at Street Vet is have a consistent diet available to them that they can come and collect at outreach and provide these signs to kind of not educate the owners but educate the public. You wouldn't walk up and feed someone's child, so don't walk up and feed someone's dog. But I think the other thing that we get happen quite a lot is some of these dogs are being starved for surgery. People just walk up and feed them, and then we've got to cancel the surgery. So yes, there's a bit of public education required, but yeah, being able to provide them with nutrition that they can then turn around and be very clear to the public that they're on a diet. Please don't feed them anything else. We're able to control a lot of issues or help with a lot of issues, but also, yeah, sadly, some of them are overweight because they've been fed inappropriately burgers and goodness knows what for whatever length of time.
Yeah, yeah. I can imagine that must be really sort of challenging for people who are experiencing homelessness to try and address those sort of, well, intended help from the public
Well,
and try and refuse that
that's
without
definitely an issue, right? Like how many times, I
causing
don't know,
problems.
if you tried to go up to somebody and maybe you've given them a coffee, not asked them if they'd like a coffee, and then been offended because they don't drink coffee. It's kind of what the public do in the nice possible sense. They're trying to be helpful, but forgetting that the people they're trying to help are human too, and just have a conversation, rather than just make an assumption. Um, so yeah, it happens a lot. Intended good help, but you just have to actually just strike up a conversation and you'll get a lot more out of the interaction.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, Libby, you've got a bit of sort of insight into this as well, haven't you? In that even if these dogs are maybe over where we'd like them to be in terms of their body condition, actually, that's still not necessarily good in terms of the sort of nutrition that they're receiving.
Yeah, I mean, we know that kind of overweightness will sort of, be a stressor on the system as well, so, and as Jay just said, they might be getting kind of, food that's not appropriate, that's like human food and so forth, but won't be providing them with everything they need, because what they need really is a regular, complete, and balanced diet that has all the nutrients in it, that they need, so we can ensure there aren't any deficiencies. If you think about these dogs, they're on the streets a lot. They're out kind of in different, huge range of temperatures. Coping with the environment. They might be exposed, to pathogens around them, as well, and that all of those things together put a huge stress on the immune system. We know stress takes a major effect on the immune system. And if that immune system then is not provided kind of with what it needs in terms of kind of the micronutrients, for example, that it might need, things like zinc, arginine, vitamin E, those type of things, you could risk deficiencies, but also kind of the importance of those bigger macronutrients, the proteins, the fats, the carbs, they've got to be accessible. They've got to kind of be provided in a very highly digestible form so these dogs can easily obtain the nutrients that they need. So whether that is for the energy, that they need if they're on the streets, and coping with those temperatures, they're going to need more calories and so forth to deal with that. But also kind of keeping a regular, good quality diet helps the gut, and we know kind of then the role of the gut in helping support the immune system. So all of those kind of dovetail together, and this is kind of the benefit then of having a regular, high quality diet. And so it's not kind of coming kind of, they're getting this odd thing here and this here. It's consistent. It's kind of always there for them, and that's going to sort of, I suppose, provide sort of like a steady input, as it were, a kind of a benchmark for them, so that we know that health is driven by many things. And Jade, I know that they'll be getting their vaccinations and their anti-parasiticides and so forth. And then if you've got good nutrition, like as a cornerstone for that, that will definitely be a help, I think.
Yeah, and we know that, nutrition's important for all pets, but especially those that have got, pre-existing health issues that they're having to manage. That's something that's especially important. And that's why Purina's been working with Streetvet, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. And there will be, I'm sure there's pets, Jade, aren't there, that have, maybe special nutritional needs, I'm sure.
Yeah, we've got quite a few. I guess obviously, what we talked about, them getting their sort of maintenance good food that they can collect at outreach or that gets delivered to the hostels for the pets that are in our hostel scheme. Um, but yeah, I mean, we've got ones on specific gastrointestinal diet or hypoallergenic diet. A few probably that are overweight and getting control on that side. Um, but yeah, I think that the two that kind of come to mind, we had a wee dog um, called Dexter, who on an outreach, I could feel he had bladder stones, and so we had to book him straight in for. He was Mayo. I was obviously worried about him getting blocked, but booked him in for cystotomy, and then he's diagnosed Struvite, and then he's continued on, yeah, the urinary diet from Purina just to obviously try and prevent any recurrence. And then when I started Streetvet, never in my wildest dreams did I think we would be managing a diabetic. I have to be honest, because I just didn't think we would be able to do it, because most of our clients obviously are not going to have access to fridges or, be able to have that level of discipline just because their lives can be really chaotic. But yeah, we have a client who's living in a van, and yeah, he has a diabetic dog, and we have had the support of, yeah, it's been a really lovely case, if I'm honest. Just a lot of sort of 360 support. So we've got a lovely practice that he's got like a named nurse at, and he they like supporting him. It's not in an area where Streetvet exists, which makes, we don't have a team on the ground. But what we have done is we've paired up with the RSPCA. So we have an RSPCA officer who visits him to make sure he's doing okay. We've got Purina providing, the diabetic management food to help with the dietary aspect. And we've got just a random member of the public who has got him a fridge outside her house that he can go and get his insulin. So it's, yeah, that one's been the transformation in that dog. But also, I'll be honest, the owner, he trusted nobody. He wouldn't speak to anybody, and now he's like, he phones us every week with an update. He knows more about diabetes than most people. And yeah, it's that one's been a really lovely sort of collaboration, I would say.
I think those two examples that you've given, Jade, are really good in that they kind of illustrate the need for that kind of steady, regular food. With diabetes, with that sort of having the same makeup of food on a regular basis, same times of day is really important. So having a regular diet, and the DM, the diabetic management food, has that profile of being kind of lower in those simple sugars that might drive up the blood glucose, and has more kind of low GI fibers and so forth in it, like barley and soya. So it's given that kind of consistency, I think, that's so important in the management of diabetes. And then with wee Dexter as well, with his Struvite, again, the consistency there, so you're looking, for a diet like you are that's got lower in the building blocks of those struvite stones, and kind of given the right sort of the level of urinary acidification to stay away from that kind of more alkaline range. But like you said, there's challenges around people giving them foods, that would be inappropriate, and offsetting that kind of balance. So it's really important to have that sort of understone, that cornerstone of regular diet of an appropriate profile, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's great to hear that Purina are able to support these pets with both the sort of shorter term veterinary diets, but also with those longer term maintenance diets as well. But it's not just food that Purina have been providing, is it, Libby? Do you want to tell us a little bit more about how Purina have been working with street vets?
Yes, yes, of course. I mean, Jade and her team do amazing work, across kind of all of the outreaches and so forth. And it's an incredible charity. We're really, really pleased to support it. And we've been fortunately able to help in more ways than just the provision of food. So we have a prize. It's called the Better with Pets Prize. It's been running since 2018, and its goal is to kind of provide support to those charities who work primarily kind of through the human-animal bond, to positively impact society, and all charities, that work under that are, can apply, for this prize of finance and support. And I'm delighted to say that Streetvet have won it twice since its inception in 2018. So they've been awarded over £70,000, in support. And Jade, I'm sure you can kind of sort of tell us sort of how the charity is using that money and support. But we're really pleased that Streetvet have been winning it, and deservedly so.
Yeah, I never knew I could apply again. So that was a nice surprise. I was straight in. But yeah, no, it wasn't something that I had come across before. And I actually came across it on LinkedIn. I think it was on the Friday, and applications had to be in on the Monday, and I was like, okay. But so that was for the first one that we did, which was obviously during COVID, and yeah, I think for people that don't know about this prize, they should look into it, because it's not just about giving money. Obviously the money's great and it's done some amazing things, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But the actual process itself, um, it it's it's a process. You have to do quite a bit of different parts of the application, but you also get to meet a lot of other people who are doing things in on as Libby said, to enhance the human animal bond in various different ways, but all over the world, which in itself is quite a unique thing. I've met quite a few organisations that I still keep in touch with through that. But yeah, as part of it, you get entered into like I guess, it's like change makers programs. You get a mentor and you do sort of group sessions. And for me at that time, it was probably the first time I'd actually been able to step out of Streetvet and look at it in a different way, and not just be like firefighting and in it all the time. So, did a lot of sort of thinking, strategic thinking, and had people to help me do that. Um, and yeah, I think it definitely helped me to make certain decisions on how we wanted to go forward and what partnerships we might want to create and things like that. But also just met lots of great people. I still speak to my mentor on a regular basis. She was at conference this year. Um, and yeah, so it's a lot more than just a competition. I would say you get to build a great network of people to support you as well. Which yeah, I've really enjoyed doing and got a lot out of. Um, but yeah, the hostel scheme was what we applied for. The Streetvet accredited hostel scheme was the project. And that was in the first year we won the money to do that, and that helped us to create all the collateral for the hostel scheme. It helped us to create the training course that we use. And since we launched it, it obviously wasn't ideal to launch it in COVID, but we are now in a position we've got 2 funded full-time members of staff that manage the hostel scheme, and we have 25, I believe, hostels accredited now, with another 69 onboarding. We've trained it must be over 80 members of staff now. But I think the most important thing is it's being well received. It's respected. People are, recommending it to other people. And yeah, from a impact point of view, I had a meeting with Italy a couple of weeks ago. I had a meeting with France on Friday. And that's organisations approaching us, seeing if we can help them to do something similar where they are, which is pretty amazing. So yeah. So the Better with Pets prize, the first one we applied for was a project to enhance the human animal bond, and that was specifically for funding for the hostel scheme. And then I didn't realise that we could apply again. But when I did, we were straight on it. And yeah, we were awarded funding to basically help with veterinary costs, which escalating from the point of view of increase in demand, which is to do with all the things we know about, so post-COVID, cost of living crisis, everything to do with energy price. It just seeing so many more people who are tipping into homelessness that never in a million years thought that they would. So we, have experienced a great increase in demand, and we've been helping people in areas where we don't have a street vet team, which means instead of them being seen on an outreach with a backpack on the street, we're having to fund them to go into practice, which is obviously an increase in cost to street vet. So that is what we put towards the Better with Pets prize this time, and we were lucky enough to be awarded some funding that's going towards helping us continue to support people like that.
So Jade, what do you think the benefits are to people who volunteer with Streetvet? Do they get something out of it as well?
Yeah, I mean, I never started Street Vet with the intention of anyone else doing it apart from me. And I know that when I wanted to do it, it was about, I don't know, I think at the time respecting the human animal bond in the people that I was meeting, because I knew what an impact that my dog had had on my own sort of health and well-being. But yeah, as it kind of snowballed and more people wanted to do it, because at the time people were like, Jade, you're never going to find vets and nurses that want to do this. We're all tired. We're all, working really hard. The last thing they're going to want to do is put a backpack on and go and be a vet or a nurse on the street. And I was just like, Sam and I were like, you're wrong. I just think you're wrong. And I'm delighted to say that the profession absolutely proved that theory wrong, and our inbox was just overflowing with people wanting to do it. And it's become apparent over the time of doing street vet just how much I think the profession needed it, to be honest. Volunteering and giving back your skills is incredibly gratifying, but it's more than that. I think that most of the people have had a lot of vets and nurses have had a really tough time, like connecting with their profession and feeling the same sort of engagement that they had before. I think COVID was really hard. I think there's just been a lot of stressors that the profession have gone through, um, and going out and volunteering in that way, you don't have to worry about time. You're not having to worry about money or insurance or anything like that. You're just being a vet or a nurse, and you're helping a pet, and they're human, and that is something that I've had loads of comments, emails, um, I guess thanks for from people who had got to the point that they kind of wanted to leave. They were done, and they've sort of said, you know what, actually going out this time is my time to kind of remember why I wanted to do this job in the first place. So I think, yeah, unintentionally, but it's a very, very important part of what Street Vet does, which is, give the profession an opportunity to give back and feel good about that, and feel um, proud as a profession, and maybe along the way, if the public actually see that we are not, some of the things you read, and that most of the people that do this job um, have the absolute intention of improving animal welfare and helping animals. If that is a byproduct that we change a bit of public perception, then I'm delighted.
Exactly. And just before we finish, Jade, have you got any other advice for anyone looking to support street vets?
Yeah, I mean, I guess anyone who's listening in the veterinary space, um, you guys have all helped me and the team so much up until this point, but obviously we still need volunteers. We always need volunteers. So, if you're a vet or a nurse, um, you can get in touch. We will help with insurance if that's needed, but most people have got some cover. It's 2 hours a month of your time, which is sort of equates to one outreach. Um, Aside from that, it is, yeah, speaking to your bosses nicely, and seeing if they would be happy to see any of our cases. We do work with loads of different practices. Some give us pro bono support, some will give us a discount, but yeah, just having people on board in the profession that are receptive to working with Streetvet is a massive help. And then we've got loads of lovely practices that decide to name us as charity of the year, and that all helps as well in terms of raising awareness with the public about who we are, what we do, and also why it's important for people experiencing homelessness to have pets, and that it's breaking that sort of stereotype that's already there. But all donations greatly received. Our demand for our services went up by over 300% in the last year. So we still need everybody's support.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely inspired me to go away and have a little look into that. So hopefully some other veterinary professionals will be similarly inspired.
I hope
It's
so.
been wonderful to hear from you both about the great work that you've been doing and how Purina's been supporting that. So thank you both so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you for having me and for the support.
It's so nice for us at Purina to be able to support Streetvet in this way and work with Jade and her fantastic team. And so fantastic that today we've been able to learn more about Streetvet as well. So thank you, Jade.